Hey guys, Doc coming at you from the front porch. Just wanted to talk to you for a few minutes from the comics porch about, are there any creators out there, artists primarily, that you go and it's almost like a guilty pleasure? You know that it's not going to be anything more than a bite-sized morsel, but you still go out there and buy pretty much anything and everything that they do. So my personal favorite, one of the people that got me into comics, I guess about 36 years ago now, is Todd McFarlane. The very first 5 comic books I ever owned, I've talked about this 1,000 times, is Torment, the issues 1 through 5 of the Objectiveless Spider-Man book. And that artwork just sucked me in. Now, I didn't know how things worked at that time. I was 9. I didn't know that Todd had just come off a very acclaimed run of Amazing Spider-Man, and I should go back and reread those issues. I didn't know that at that time I probably could have come away with a really awesome copy of Amazing Spider-Man issue 300 for maybe $20 instead of the over 300 that I paid for it back, right before the comic boom back in 2021. But hey, even though it took me 30 some odd years to get it, I finally got it. So I'm not complaining at all. But Todd is one of those creators that no matter what he does, for example, I chose not to pick it up, but I'll probably go back and try to pick it up at some point later. But they did the facsimile edition of Marvel Team Up issue number 14, which had Spider-Man and Invincible. And McFarlane did a cover for it. Did he do the interior artwork? No, he simply did the cover. Did he, pencil it, ink it, write it? Nothing but the cover. Okay, this past week, Battle Beast issue number 7, where Battle Beast comes back after being off for about a 6-month hiatus, I think. He did a cover for Battle Beast issue number 7, and that was the cover that I picked up. So it's one of those things where I fell in love with Todd's artwork. Don't really know all that much about his politics, whether he's a good guy, bad guy. That stuff doesn't really matter to me. I've read a lot about his good politics, his bad politics, how he's tried to help people in the industry, how he's hurt people in the industry, and everywhere in between. But at the end of the day, Todd McFarlane's artwork, to me, and I would say with pencil and ink, but now I think he does a lot of his stuff on a Wacom tablet, but pencil and ink is some of the most detailed, most beautiful stuff that you can get. I would say that Rob Liefeld is almost an impulse purchase for me for a lot of times. When Dynamite came out with their new Thundercats book a few years ago, then I picked up the first 4 issues, and had he done covers for more than the first 4 issues, I would have continued on. But I picked up the Liefeld covers for the first 4 issues. Did Liefeld draw any of the original animation back in the 1980s? Did he draw any of the Thundercat comics that came out of the 1980s? No, he did not. But something about Liefeld's artwork and Todd's artwork and Jim Lee's artwork just brings that old excitement back from when I was 9, 10 years old. Life was so much easier and less complicated than it is now. And it just makes me want to go out there and snag it up and have just a moment or two of my childhood back. Because those guys are getting older. And Jim Lee in particular keeps trying to do long runs, or at least 6 to 12 issue runs on books. And even with multiple years head start, he just doesn't have it anymore. And if he was just an artist, if he gave up his job as chief creative officer at DC Comics and just went back to drawing, maybe he could get back to the point where he could do a book a month, for 5 or 6 months before taking a break. But right now, I don't know that we'll ever see the end of Hush 2, because issue 163 of Batman was supposed to come out, I think, 3 issues into this Batman run that we have by Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez. And now it's not coming out, it looks like, until May. Okay? And that's only part 6 of 12. And they have said that they were going to finish off the other 6 issues in a separate miniseries. But here's the thing with that. If Jim does covers and some interiors to Superman, Spider-Man, if he does different covers and variant covers to different books on the DC line and some image books, when is he ever going to have time to finish that story that he started with Jeff Loeb? So it's kind of a double-edged sword that, you know, when you get this amazing artwork, it just blows your mind. But then, like I said, it's almost like a guilty pleasure because you realize I've got to eat this up while I can, because once this guy or female or whoever stops drawing this book, this character, this series, I'll never see it again. The last 2 that I can think of off the top of my head is John Romita Jr. on Spider-Man. You know, a lot of people are giving him grief about the level of his art not being as strong as it was 30 years ago. Well, part of it, I was talking to one of the viewers in the comments the other day on another video, and I said, if ASM went back to once published a month instead of two times a month, then maybe the writer and the artists could have enough time to breathe and to create amazing art. Now, that's not to say that I don't like JR, and I'm probably in the minority now because his artwork is not what it was 30 years ago. But I realize when JR stops drawing Spider-Man, when that day comes, he'll probably never pick up a pencil to do Spider-Man ever again. And to see him hopefully get to be one of the artists on Amazing Spider-Man issue 1000, which is coming in September. A lot of people would probably hate on me for this, but I would love to see issue 1000 simply being written by Joe Kelly, penciled by John Romita Jr., and then inked by Scott Hanna. And if you could, sneak some Klaus Janson in there somewhere and let it be a 64-pager. Because I always prayed as I got older that John Romita Sr. would still be around to see ASM number 1000. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. We lost him a couple of years ago. But to see John Jr., who one of his earliest contributions was to help create the Prowler, with his father, for ASM, all the way back in issue 78. And then to see this same, guy now all grown up, penciling issue 1000 of the same series. Can you imagine? What if Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster had been around long enough to write and pencil, respectively, issue 1000 of Action Comics? That would have been amazing to have seen. That would have been something wild and crazy. But JR, and then, like I said, the last person I can think of off the top of my head is Mark Bagley. And I want to see Bags do another year or 2 run on interiors on The Amazing Spider-Man. And unfortunately, at this time, I saw the other day that he said that he had given up doing interiors because he had a surgery recently, and it's taken him longer to heal from that surgery than he had anticipated. So, unfortunately, we may never see another interior penciled issue of ASM ever again. But I'm really hoping that in time, Mark will heal up and change his mind and come out there and he'll be able to create some more amazing content for the interiors as well as covers for Spidey books. Because like I said, once he hangs his hat up on Spider-Man, I fear that he'll never pick it up again. So anyway, guys, that is just some thoughts from the porch here. What is an artist or two or three of yours that you feel is a guilty pleasure that you'll pick up no matter what? I know a lot of people have been reading Savage Dragon for years, and they don't really care how loose or how good or how strong the story is. They just like Eric Larson and love, seeing what kind of insanity he can come up with when the book does come out. So, like I said, guys, throw it in the comments. Let me know what one or two or three of your guilty pleasure artists are. And if you've got any guilty pleasure writers that you go and you collect every single thing that they've written, let me know about them too. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful day. Take care. And I'm going to get back to my quiet, sometimes when you don't have a Silverado with flows going by, get back to my quiet country living. Take care, guys and gals. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next video. If you have not, please like and subscribe to the channel to get much more thoughtful and entertaining content just like this coming your way.